Greetings and welcome to our space of warmth and connection. We invite you to immerse yourself, fully subscribe, hit the notification bell, and never miss a moment. Emily, with her weariness hidden behind a gentle smile, cast a critical eye over the room. "Mom, it's still not quite clean," she said softly yet firmly. "Please make sure you keep scrubbing until the floor gleams. I want everything to be perfect for when my guests arrive." If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Monica, the devoted mother, paused in her labor, lifting her gaze to her daughter. "I'm nearly finished, sweetheart," she reassured her with a weary but determined tone. Just as Monica spoke, Emily's phone buzzed insistently. It was Mike, her elder brother. Though she felt an impulse to disregard the call, she answered it with a sigh of reluctance, her frown betraying her annoyance at being disturbed so early. Emily took a few steps away, not wishing for her mother to overhear that it was Mike on the line. "What is it now?" Emily whispered sharply, her voice barely audible, deliberately keeping the conversation discreet from the other end of the house. Meanwhile, Monica remained absorbed in her cleaning task, oblivious to the family drama unfolding on the phone. Mike's voice on the other end was insistent and clear. "I need to speak with Mom. Is she up yet?" "No, she's still asleep," Emily replied, her voice carefully measured as she stifled her irritation. "I'm just getting some tea ready to bring to her room." Her breathing was controlled, and her composure strained as she tried to mask her frustration. "Okay, just make sure she stays undisturbed," Mike responded, his tone heavy with weariness. "I miss her terribly and need to have a conversation with her." His words carried a mixture of longing and fatigue, adding weight to Emily's already burdened heart. Emily's face twisted in a grimace, acutely aware that Mike's call was merely the prelude to another, inevitable interruption. She knew he would call back later that same day, and the thought of him invading the sanctity of their carefully prepared day filled her with unease. With a decisive click, she ended the call without the formality of a farewell, her impatience evident in her actions. As she returned to the living room, she made a concerted effort to regain her composure, determined to not let her brother's intrusion derail her plans. The day was meant to be perfect, and she refused to let Mike's presence mar the efforts she had invested in creating a flawless experience. In his office, Mike found himself buried under an overwhelming avalanche of paperwork and documents that clamored for his immediate attention. The incessant ringing of the phone pierced the air, amplifying the tension that seemed to hang like a dense fog in the room. His calendar was crammed with crucial appointments, each one meticulously scheduled to the minute. Meetings with high-profile clients loomed ahead, their significance casting a long shadow over his already fraught day. Despite the frenetic pace and the palpable strain that seemed to suffuse the office, there was an undercurrent of anxiety that gnawed at Mike. The thought of calling his mother again loomed over him like a persistent specter. Every glance at the clock served as a stark reminder of his promise to reach out to her later, a commitment he struggled to uphold amidst the relentless demands of his job. As Mike wrestled with the intricate details of a contract sprawled across his desk, the gentle yet authoritative knock of Lucy, his secretary, cut through his concentration. "Mr. Mike, your first client is already in the waiting room, prepared for their appointment," she said, her voice a soothing contrast to the chaos of the office. Mike looked up from the mountain of paperwork, his eyes reflecting the weariness that had become his constant companion. He gave Lucy a nod of acknowledgement, his thoughts briefly shifting from his concerns to the immediate demands of his professional responsibilities. Adjusting his tie with a practiced gesture, he stood up, steeling himself for the interaction ahead. The day's relentless pace continued, but the weight of his family's needs lingered in the background, a silent but insistent reminder of the emotional balancing act he faced. "Very well, please have him come in," Mike responded with calm assurance, ready to welcome the client. With practiced efficiency, he swiftly organized his desk, gathering scattered documents into a neat stack in one corner. He methodically placed stray pins into the drawer and aligned his stack of business cards with meticulous care. Every detail was attended to, ensuring the workspace was immaculate as a mark of respect and professionalism for the incoming visitor. With everything in place, Mike took a deep, steadying breath and donned a warm, welcoming smile. Just as he prepared himself mentally, the door creaked open, signaling the arrival of the client. The client stepped inside with an air of hesitance, pausing by Mike's desk. He was an elderly man, his face etched with deep lines and his eyes reflecting a lifetime of hard-won wisdom and sorrow. "Good morning, Mr. Mike. I'm Frank Thompson," the man introduced himself, his voice quivering with a palpable sense of anxiety. Mike rose to meet him, extending his hand in a firm, reassuring handshake. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. Please have a seat," Mike invited, gesturing toward the chair with genuine courtesy. "Thank you, Mr. Mike," Frank said, settling into the chair with visible relief. His voice wavered as he continued, "I'm in a difficult situation. I've lost all my life savings. Someone exploited my trust because of my age." His voice broke slightly, and his eyes glistened with unshed tears. "The small amount I had saved for my retirement is now gone." Mike listened with deep attentiveness, his expression mirroring a profound blend of empathy and resolve. "I'm truly sorry to hear about your situation, Mr. Thompson. No one should have to endure such an injustice," Mike said, his voice steady and filled with conviction. He placed a comforting hand on the elderly man's shoulder, offering a gesture of support and reassurance. "I assure you I will do everything in my power to recover your funds and ensure that the perpetrator faces justice." Mr. Thompson's eyes, once clouded with despair, now held a flicker of hope. With a renewed sense of purpose, Mike set about devising a strategy to address the egregious wrongs committed against Frank. The meeting extended well beyond an hour as Mike meticulously gathered all pertinent information. He conducted a thorough inquiry, demonstrating not only his professional diligence but also his genuine concern for his client's plight. His focus was unwavering as he took detailed notes, absorbing every nuance of the case presented by Mr. Thompson. Frank recounted the harrowing details of the scam, describing the deceitful tactics employed and the identity of the fraudster. As the meeting drew to a close, Mike requested that Frank assemble all relevant documents and papers that could aid in the investigation. With a faint, encouraging smile, Mike assured him, "Please gather all the necessary paperwork, and rest assured, I will do everything within my power to help you reclaim what you've lost." Mr. Thompson left the office feeling a tentative but reassuring sense of relief. The weight of his ordeal seemed lighter as he departed, buoyed by the belief that with Mike's unwavering support and expertise, justice was not only possible but within reach. As the morning unfolded, Mike found himself ensnared in a relentless flurry of activity, each task and meeting stretching his already thin reserves of energy. His office became a battleground of legal battles, where each new client brought a fresh set of challenges that tested his extensive legal knowledge and problem-solving skills. Every appointment seemed to demand a piece of his attention, from intricate negotiations to urgent consultations, each adding another layer of complexity to his already packed schedule. By noon, after enduring a grueling marathon of high-stakes meetings and intricate legal discussions, Mike felt a pressing need for a brief respite. The relentless pace of the morning had left him mentally and emotionally drained. Seeking a moment of solace, he decided to reach out to his sister, hoping to connect with his mother through her. The idea of a brief, comforting conversation with family seemed like the perfect antidote to the morning's pressures. However, his efforts were met with frustrating silence. Despite several attempts to reach his sister, the phone remained stubbornly unanswered. Each failed call only intensified his sense of urgency and exasperation. Convinced that his sister must be caught up in her whirlwind of activities, Mike made the difficult decision to return to his office. The mounting pressure of his professional responsibilities left him with little choice but to focus on the tasks at hand. He promised himself that he would make another attempt to connect with his family later in the day, once he had more time to devote to the matter. Meanwhile, back at their mother's house, Emily was navigating her own set of challenges. The phone's persistent ringing had become an unwelcome soundtrack to her day, adding to her mounting frustration. With a mixture of irritation and a hint of mockery, she remarked to herself, "What a persistent nuisance, always trying to play the loving son." Over the years, she had come to recognize Mike's persistent efforts to stay in touch, but amid her busy schedule and growing exasperation, she chose to let his calls go unanswered. The phone's relentless ringing eventually ceased, and Emily seized the opportunity to direct her frustration elsewhere. The temporary quiet provided a brief respite from the phone's incessant interruptions, allowing her to channel her irritation toward her mother and the ongoing demands of her daily tasks. As she busied herself with her responsibilities, the sense of irritation and fatigue lingered, coloring her interactions and amplifying her exasperation with the day's events. Despite having spent the entire morning immersed in a whirlwind of cleaning, Emily's patience was wearing thin. She glanced at her mother with barely concealed irritation and snapped, "Mom, the dishes still aren't done. You need to pick up the pace. There's a mountain of clothes waiting to be ironed too." Her tone was sharp, filled with an impatience that bordered on disdain. Monica, her hands aching from hours of scrubbing the floor, let out a weary sigh. She knew better than to challenge her daughter's demands. Any attempt at argument would only spark a confrontation she wished to avoid. With a heavy heart, Monica shuffled toward the kitchen, her spirit weighed down by both the physical exhaustion and the emotional burden of her daughter's treatment. Silently, she continued with the household chores, while Emily, detached and indifferent, busied herself with her nails, seemingly oblivious to the strain her demands were placing on her mother. Emily's approach to her mother was more akin to that of a disgruntled boss addressing an overburdened employee than the nurturing demeanor one might expect from a daughter. To Monica, the experience felt like a betrayal. She couldn't fathom why her once affectionate and close relationship with Emily had deteriorated into this stark, impersonal dynamic. She had devoted her life to her children, pouring love, care, and effort into raising them, yet now she found herself the target of her daughter's disdain and impatience. The emotional anguish was as palpable as the physical strain she endured, leaving her to ponder when their bond had soured from one of mutual respect and tenderness to this disheartening reality. As if the mounting chores were not enough, Emily delivered another blow with her latest announcement. "Mom, just so you know, you're not allowed to leave your room tonight. My new boyfriend is coming over, and I don't want him to see you. You can only come out if I call for you. Got it?" Her words cut through the air, harsh and final. Monica's eyes filled with tears at her daughter's cold decree. The sting of rejection and the palpable lack of respect left her feeling utterly defeated. With a voice choked by emotion, Monica could only muster a resigned, "Whatever you say, dear." The weight of her daughter's words pressed heavily on her heart, underscoring the growing chasm between them. As the evening descended and darkness enveloped the world outside, Emily prepared for her night with meticulous care. She dressed in an elegant ensemble, carefully selecting each piece to enhance her appearance. The scent of her perfume filled the air, mingling with the soft, flattering light as she applied her makeup with practiced precision. Every detail was attended to, her anticipation for the evening's events growing with each passing moment. When Alex arrived, his eyes widened in admiration as he took in the pristine, immaculately organized home. He marveled at the spotless surroundings, the gleaming surfaces, and the overall air of perfection. The scene was a testament to Emily's dedication and effort, and his admiration was evident as he praised her with a warm sparkle in his eyes. Emily, her heart fluttering with excitement and a hint of nervousness, responded with a bright smile, "I love keeping everything in order. I want you to feel completely at ease here." She hoped that tonight would not only be a delightful experience, but also a step towards deepening their connection and making the evening memorable. The pleasant atmosphere was abruptly interrupted by a faint, yet distinct noise emanating from the kitchen. Alex's curiosity was piqued, and he glanced toward the sound, catching sight of Monica moving with some difficulty as she tended to her tasks. "Emily, is that your mother?" Alex asked, his tone friendly and inquisitive as he extended a genuine smile. Emily's heart sank. Her mother, despite being explicitly told to stay hidden, was visible in the kitchen, and the sight triggered a surge of anger and discomfort within her. She felt a pang of embarrassment and irritation, but forced herself to maintain composure in front of her boyfriend. "Oh, my mother," Emily said, attempting to keep her voice steady while a strained smile played on her lips. No, she's just the maid." Her attempt at nonchalance belied the tension she felt as she grappled with the dissonance between her mother's presence and her desire to present an ideal image to Alex. Monica, having overheard the entire exchange, felt her heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. Her gaze fell to the floor, weighed down by an immense, overwhelming sadness. Memories surged through her mind, each one more poignant than the last, painting a picture of a life that once brimmed with warmth and connection, but had now spiraled into profound loneliness. The heaviness of her breath mirrored the weight of her grief, each heartbeat feeling like a painful reminder of her current reality. In the quiet of the kitchen, Monica's movements became mechanical, a desperate attempt to maintain some semblance of normalcy while her soul was adrift in a sea of melancholy. The effort to hold back tears was almost too great, each second an agonizing struggle to avoid drawing any more attention to herself. The familiar sounds of clinking utensils and the sizzle of the stove were now faint echoes against the backdrop of her inner turmoil. Alex, though somewhat taken aback by the revelation, chose not to press further. The air grew thick with discomfort, an unspoken tension that hung between them. The warmth of the evening had been abruptly overshadowed by the harsh reality of Monica's situation, casting a shadow over what was meant to be a pleasant night. As Monica worked, her mind drifted back to a time not so long ago when her life had taken a dramatic turn. She recalled vividly the minor fall at home that had initially seemed inconsequential, but had marked the beginning of her new, strained existence. Mike's concern for his mother's well-being had been palpable and sincere. Driven by worry, he had arranged for Emily to move in and assist with her care, ensuring that Monica would not face the trials of her recovery alone. At that time, Emily had been without work or academic commitments, a fact that seemed to align perfectly with the need for someone to provide support at home. Mike, ever the devoted son, had taken it upon himself to cover all the household expenses without hesitation, believing it to be the least he could do for his mother. Yet, in the depths of his worst fears, he could never have imagined that his gesture of love and support would result in such painful and demeaning treatment for the woman who had given him everything. The contrast between the ideal Mike had envisioned and the reality Monica now faced was a cruel twist of fate, leaving her to grapple with the disparity between her past and present and the deep sense of betrayal that lingered in the dimly lit kitchen. Each insult and belittlement that Monica endured became etched into her memory, recurring with painful clarity. The disdain in Emily's eyes felt like icy daggers, relentlessly piercing her heart. Monica's spirit seemed to wither under the crushing weight of humiliation, and a profound sense of helplessness enveloped her as she grappled with the cruel treatment of her children. As the evening unfolded, Monica finished preparing dinner with painstaking effort, her movements precise but marked by an underlying sorrow. She strove to mask her anguish behind a veneer of normalcy, but every task, from setting the table to arranging the food, felt like a reminder of her profound disappointment. The warmth of the stove, though comforting in a physical sense, did nothing to soothe the deep emotional pain she carried. Despite the uncomfortable and strained atmosphere, Emily's boyfriend made an effort to salvage the evening. He focused on maintaining a light and pleasant conversation, determined to make the best of the situation. Yet the air was thick with an unspoken tension, a weight that seemed to hang over the dinner and shadow their interactions. The discomfort was palpable, an invisible barrier that even Alex's best efforts could not fully dispel. After the meal, Monica quietly retreated to her room, seeking solace in the darkness of her solitude. The silence was both a refuge and a canvas for her thoughts, where she could reflect on the years of unwavering dedication and selfless sacrifice she had given to her family. She thought deeply about her relationship with Mike, her son, who had once been a source of immense pride and comfort. The unspoken words between them and the lost moments of affection loomed large in her mind. The phone call she had failed to answer earlier that day reverberated in her thoughts, a stark reminder of the invisible chasm that had grown between her and her children. Mike, once so close and attentive, now seemed distant and disengaged. The emotional distance that had crept into their relationship left Monica feeling isolated and forlorn, her heart heavy with the weight of unfulfilled expectations and a longing for the warmth and connection that once characterized their family. In the quiet of her room, she faced the somber reality of her life, grappling with the deepening sense of abandonment and the fractured bonds that had once been so strong. As Monica lay down on her bed, the weight of the day's events pressing heavily upon her, her mind was a storm of unanswered questions and unresolved emotions. The room was dimly lit, the shadows cast by the moonlight offering little comfort. Her heart ached with the depth of her solitude, and her thoughts wandered through the corridors of memory, revisiting moments of love and sacrifice that had once defined her relationship with her children. She found herself yearning for a day when her children would finally recognize and appreciate the sacrifices she had made for them. The countless hours she had spent nurturing them, the sleepless nights, and the unwavering support that had always been her hallmark seemed like distant echoes, overshadowed by the harshness and indifference she now faced. In the quiet solitude of her room, Monica's hope flickered like a fragile candle in the dark. She clung to the hope that tomorrow might bring a shifted day when her children would see beyond their frustrations and misunderstandings and acknowledge the depth of her love. She longed for a moment when the bitterness and distance would melt away, revealing the respect and affection that had once flowed so freely between them. With a deep, weary sigh, Monica closed her eyes, wishing for a future where the wounds of today would heal and where the bonds of family could be mended. She hoped that the light of a new day would bring clarity and understanding, and that her children would come to see the woman who had devoted her life to their well-being not as a source of inconvenience or irritation, but as the loving, selfless mother she had always been. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Monica's poignant story. As we've explored the emotional depth of her experiences and the complexities of family relationships, I hope you've gained some valuable insights into the nature of sacrifice, respect, and understanding within our loved ones. What have you learned from Monica's story? How has it resonated with you? And what is one lesson or insight you plan to bring into your own life? We'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections. Please share your learnings and any actionable steps you plan to take in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and found it meaningful, please let us know by leaving a comment, giving us a thumbs up, and sharing it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated with more content that inspires and informs. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.